Enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You'll never know till it's over. So pretty it hurts, just beware of the thorns.
Told me, tell some of my own stories. And some of this is going to come from things I've read, because just because I was at the walls doesn't mean I know everything about it. Well, if you're new, subscribe, share these videos, comment, and I really like for people who've been at the walls to comment. I mean, because, whether we knew each other or not, there's kind of a shared experience there, even though it may be at different times. Let me know what you think of the place, whether you hate it, you like it, whatever, I don't really like the walls, but it kind of formed who I was later on in prison, how it became. Well, the walls were built in 1836 with inmate labor, and a lot of Jefferson City, which is the capital, where the walls is located, they had a lot of factories going. The inmates made a lot of stuff, saddles, other industry things. So a lot of these old houses you see from the 1800s and early 1900s, it's people getting rich off of inmate labor and stuff. Pretty much you can say the prison made Jeff City what it is today in a large way. But I think the first woman to be housed there was in 1842 or something like that. Later on, they built a section for women. She was only there. That woman was only there a few months, not very long. But later on, they built a section for women, H Hall, I believe, and it held like up to 60. But at one time, the prison held 5,000 people, and it was just bad living conditions, and it just arsenals of weapons everywhere, assaults, inmates were tortured, all kinds of things going on. It's just a brutal place, worse than when I was there. And in 1954, they had a riot, and the reason for the riot was, after the riot was over with, they asked the inmates why they had a riot, and it was because members of the pro board that were selected for the pro board were former police officers, and the convicts didn't think that was fair. They thought police officers would be biased, and kind of have to agree with them on that. I mean, whether that's true or not, them being biased or not, that's in your mind, that they're going to be biased because they was police officers. There was a guy named Firebug Johnson, kept trying to escape, and he set the penitentiary afire, and I think it killed some inmates. And I hate using the word inmate, but, I'd rather say convicts, but then not everybody's a convict. Not in my eyes. You got convicts, the real ones, and you got inmates who, they, well, let's just say they ain't up to par, except when it comes to telling. But enough of that. The old heads told me, And when I got there, it was bad. I got there in 88, summer of 88. No air conditioner. It was hot. I mean, and they had me on the top walk of Two House. That's where they had R&O. I can't remember the name of the hall it was called. All these housing units used to be called by letters. A hall, B hall, C hall, so on. But some of them changed. Like A hall is also called 4 house. And I can't remember what 2 house was, what hall that was. It was probably C hall or something. But anyway, no fan, and just sitting there and just sweat just running off. Even when I did get a fan, it's just blowing hot air, you know. I guess that's better than nothing. The first execution I witnessed, and it's the only one I witnessed at the walls at the Missouri State Penitentiary, was George Tiny Mercer. At the time, I didn't know much about it. And they had it took place, like, I think in January sometime of '89. And they had, if I remember correctly, they had people outside the prison doing this vigil thing, you know, where they light the candles and all this. But the prisoners inside, they wanted to start protesting by banging on their doors. So, you know, they asked me to join in, so I did, and I regret doing that, because I'll tell you why in a little bit. But anyway, during the middle of this protest, I guess we'd been banging on the doors for like 10 minutes or something, and all of a sudden somebody yells out, "They got porn on channel 2." That wasn't the exact words they used, but I'm just trying to be polite here. And so the banging stopped. Everybody started watching this porn. And I was thinking in my head, you guys wanted to protest this guy's execution. But as soon as something like this comes on, the heck with it. You know, you forget all about it. Anyway, they executed him. And later on, I found out that when he was free, he had a rape charge pending against him, against a 17-year-old. When the next incident took place, where he saw this woman in a waitress, told a friend that he would like to get with her, if you know what I mean. Goes back to his house. His friend brings the girl to the house. I ain't going to go into details, but he ends up raping her and killing her. He's no good in my book. It's not a convict. He's a piece of dumb. You know? Anyway, enough of that. But I do remember when they executed him, it was kind of rainy out, and lightning was flashing, and whenever the lightning would flash, you know, you had these big windows, and the lightning would flash, and you'd see the outlines of the other housing units and other parts of the prison. And you know, I hadn't been there, what, 6 months or so, and I thought, man, this is creepy. It's like out of a horror movie or something. But you had to be on your toes at the walls, the Bloodiest 47 acres. It got that name, the Bloodiest 47 acres, in the mid-'60s by Times Magazine, because like I said, the violence was a lot worse than when I got there, and it was bad when I was there. And they was always finding weapons, stashes of them. I mean, everywhere, made out of everything. So you had to be on your toes, and to be honest, you had to be mentally strong. If you was weak in any way, you know, mentally, you was through. These guys are not in there for singing in the church choir. But I want to tell this story deserves to be told. There's people back there that, in a place that was heartless, that do have a heart. I want to tell a story about this guy I knew, and I wish I could knew his last name. I put money on his books. I was telling the guy about this, I think yesterday. I think about him all the time. So if anybody was at the walls at the time I was there, I guess this would be summer of '89, and they remember this incident, then please tell me this guy's name. Please, I'm begging you. Because I mean, I owe him, and I would put money on his books with pleasure. You know, I'm not going to go into the details of this. Any ex-con, they can probably figure out what I'm talking about, but I don't feel comfortable about going into it, you know, because anyway, there was a incident that arose, and I was going to take care of the problem. And this guy, before I could do it, he did it. And he did probably spilling a hole over it. He gets out of the hole. I mean, I'm kind of upset about it, you know. The whole situation I was upset about, because, you know, I felt like he was fighting my fight. And, you know, people just don't fight their fights. They'll have your back. You know, if there's more than one, they'll have your back. But they don't fight your fights. So I was kind of upset about this. So he gets out and they put him back in treehouse. Like a long time, you know. And somebody told me he'd gotten out. And I went down to his cell, and he's sitting on his bunk. I said, hey, you know, you didn't have to do that. I can fight my own fights. He stares at me. And, you know, I'm up at his cell at the bars. Walks up to the bars, gets as close to me as he could, staring me dead in the eye. He said, you little shit. I know you're not a punk. If you were, I wouldn't be messing with you. Kind of cleaned that one up a little bit. He said, I got, altogether, I'm doing 300 years. I'm not getting out. He said, you have a chance of getting out. And he said, you're a good person. He goes, get out, and don't come back, you know. Live your life. You don't need to be in here. I've never forgotten that guy. And if I got transferred to other prisons, I asked others about if they knew who I was talking about, and one of them knew the incident I was talking about, but they didn't know his last name either. But that's all I know is his first name. We called him Jimmy. Or at least that's what he went by. So maybe it's James. I don't know. We called him Jimmy. But anyway, I mean, I get kind of emotional talking about this guy. Sorry. Anyway, I think I said in another video it's segregated, you know. The first time I went to chow hall, I sat on the wrong side and all this and that. You kept your seat. Didn't let nobody take your seat. I heard that in the past it was even more segregated, and that there was more racial tension. I don't know. I'm just going by what others have said. There was, I told the story about coming back from the chow hall and the guy hanging from the top tier, had a couple sheets tied together. I'm just giving you guys an idea of how this place was. When I got there, they had plastic trays and silverware, you know, I guess plasticware. You can't call it silverware if it's plastic. The guys tell me about the plates being tin or something, and that people would hit people upside the head with them, you know, with the tin edge, slice their heads open. I was told about the inmates. This is before I got there too. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm awful glad that guards were running the walks when I was there. I'm not gonna lie. Call it what you want. I'm glad it wasn't like that when I got there. But inmates, the convicts, they had them hired to open the doors, the cell doors and stuff. Can you believe that? And they would sometimes open the cell door for other inmates to go in there and, you know, fight somebody or, you know, assault them or maybe rape them, rob them, whatever. But by the time I got there, it wasn't like that. And like I said, I'm not going to lie one bit when I'm saying I'm glad of that. Another thing people used to tell me about was a guy they called him, his nickname was Dr. Goldfinger. I had hardcore convicts tell me about this, and they would look down almost in shame as they told me this. I don't think they had nothing to be ashamed of. They had no control of it. But this Dr. Goldfinger, when you first get there, they'd tell me, he'd do a rectum check, you know, cavity check. And he slid this finger over his finger that was gold covered. I don't know if it was plastic, what it was made of, but it was gold covered. And he'd run it up and check for contraband and stuff, you know. So I'm glad I didn't have to go through that either. But these guys would tell me about this. You know, there was one or two that would laugh about, but I think they was laughing because of the look on my face, because I'm like, no, I'm a kid. Basically, I'm 18 years old. I'm like, you know, what? But yeah, they said that H Hall used to be like where they put you, you know, when you first got there, and that's where he did it, the cavity search. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to go through that either. I was told of in the cells we had these light bulbs, and to turn the light on, you pull this string. I was told stories of people punching a hole in the end of the light bulb, you know, the part you screw in, and putting a mixture of gas and oil in there. Some people, they said, would take the metal off, get it off of there. And they put oil and gas in there, a mixture, put it back on, go in somebody's cell that he had a problem with, screw that in, but don't screw it in all the way. So the person comes in, tries to turn his light on, doesn't turn on. The first reaction is, for most people, is to make sure the bulb is tight. And when the light comes on, boom, you get fire all over them. They're on fire. That all is sticking to them. And like I said, I never experienced that, but I had many people tell me about that. Seen a guy get hit with a mop wringer, a metal one, not the little plastic ones they got now, where you just twist the mop, you know, this kind of cone shape. No, these were the metal ones, you know, had the handle that you had. The guy almost got scalped. And the weird thing is, this guy was mopping up blood, and these other two people started fighting. And the one guy was getting the best of the other, and they got over by the mop, and he just reaches down and grabs that handle, just lays it right across the guy's head. And so I remember the guy saying, "Man, more blood." He was aggravated because he had to clean up more blood. But, you know, it's not anything that he wasn't, you know, he was used to it. I mean, it's pretty much, it was an everyday job there. In the housing units, there's always somebody mopping up blood. On the yard, sometimes you'd see people with 5-gallon buckets throwing water down on the grass or something. But I remember another incident that happened with me is I was up on the upper yard with a few guys, and you know, when I was there, you didn't go in the upper yard by yourself at Peter's Flight. So I was standing up there with a few other guys, and there's these people playing handball. Well, I got away from one of them and rolled over right next to the wall. I said, "I got it." I start heading over there, and everybody that was in that vicinity was yelling at me, "Stop, don't." This ball is right pretty close to a guard tower. This guard comes out, tells me to stop. I said, "You see that handball down there? I'm just going to get this handball and give it to these guys." He goes, "You're not getting any closer to this wall." I said, "Look, you can watch me walk over there if you want." He goes, "You're not taking one step closer. I will shoot you." Wow, man. You know, even if, I don't understand that to this day. He could watch me walk over there, have his gun on me. He could aim it at me if he wanted to. I'm not going over that wall with him there with a gun. But, so I backed off, and everybody there, people I didn't know, man, don't ever do that. They will shoot you and ask questions later. And to this day, I can't get over that. If he's standing right there with a gun, I don't see what the problem was. Apparently there was. There was a guy that escaped from the walls in 86, I believe. People was telling me about this. He put on a guard's uniform. Apparently he had a guard helping him and stuff. And they never did catch him. I think his name was Dennis something. But I found out, somebody told me, had Googled it and everything, and they found out that he died a few years back of cancer. He lived his life out free and died of cancer. They had a couple famous boxers there. Sonny Liston, I think, was one. Oh, and some people don't know this. James Earl Ray was there. Now, James Earl Ray escaped and went on to kill Martin Luther King. If you Google it and read about it, they will say that he escaped because of the shortage of staff. But if he escaped because of the shortage of staff, how come it wasn't happening all the time? You know, why weren't there others escaping? I think he had help escaping. I almost think it was they called me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but I almost think that he had help from the prison itself. That's just my opinion, and I ain't the only one that shares that opinion. But you know, take it how you want. You know, whatever you think about that, how he got away, well, that's neither here nor there. The fact is, he got away, escaped, and went and killed Martin Luther King. So that was another. And a lot of people don't know he was there. They think he escaped from a prison or something. Or some don't even know that. But that's where he got away from. And there was a couple other famous people, and I just can't think of their names. Despite popular belief and rumor, Frank James was never there. And, you know, after the death of Jesse James, Frank turned himself in, and he ended up getting a pardon from the governor. He was never at the walls, even though he could have been, you know, because the walls was built in 1836, and this was like in the late 1800s. But everything I've read said he was never there, that he got pardoned by the governor. Well, I think I about covered it all. I hope I have. And if you guys have any more questions about, oh, I got to tell you one more. When I was at, I hope the guy watching that told me this is watching, because it's a great story, and I heard it the whole time I was at from different people the whole time I was at the walls. I mean, this guy's a legend. But back in a long time ago, you know, when I was at the walls, people tell me about this guy that him and another guy robbed the canteen. And the way they done it is they was in the band room. They went up through the ceiling, came down into the canteen because they was right next to one another, and filled up these guitar cases with canteen, and they leave. You know, prison canteen items. You know, I don't know what all they got or anything, but that was. I heard that story over and over from different people, and there was even like little different variants of it. You know, like different versions of it. But I heard it from the horse's mouth the other day, and I mean, I really enjoyed that. And respect to him. You gotta respect somebody who does that. You know, whether right or wrong, but you gotta admit it, it's good. So if you're watching, thank you for sharing that story. I really appreciate it, and I love you for it. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.